You feel a pressure behind the eyes, a specific static hum in the nervous system. You sit down to work, but the cursor just blinks. You aren't tired, but you cannot move. It feels like you are screaming in a soundproof room. You push against the wall of your own will, but the wall does not budge. You drink more coffee, you write better lists. You try to force the engine to turn over, but there is no spark. Just a hollow clicking sound where your motivation used to be. You have convinced yourself that this is a moral failing. You think you are broken. You think you are regressing. You look at your life and you see a frozen screen. Let me be the one to read the diagnostic code for you right now. This is not depression. This is not laziness. This is not a lack of discipline. This is a coordinate 0-point reset. Your reality is currently offline because it is rewriting the base code. You are not stalling. You are buffering. We need to look at this through the lens of cybernetics, specifically the study of control and communication in living organisms and machines. In complex systems engineering, there is a fundamental law. For a system to increase its complexity, to upgrade from version 1.0 to version 2.0, it must temporarily decrease its functionality. You cannot use the software while the firmware is updating. It is a physical impossibility. You are currently in the drop before the spike. Right now, your operating system is attempting to install a massive packet of new data, new desires, a new identity, a new timeline. But you are trying to type on the keyboard while the installation bar is at 10%. If you try to force movement right now, you do not create progress. You corrupt the file. If you fight the freeze, you fracture the system. But if you understand the physics of what is happening, if you allow the buffer, you render a higher fidelity life. The guilt you feel, that is just the old operating system panicking because it can't find the old drivers. It's searching for a version of you that has already been deleted. You think you are broken. You are simply in the phase 1 update. Your reality has shifted coordinates. To understand why you feel this paralysis, we must look at information theory, specifically the concept of channel capacity. In telecommunications, every channel, whether it's a fiber optic cable or a human nervous system, has a mathematical limit to how much signal it can carry before that signal turns into noise. This is called the Shannon limit. Think of your life like an internet connection. For years you have been running on a specific bandwidth. It was enough to handle your old job, your old relationships, and your old problems. But recently you asked for more. You visualized a bigger life. You prayed for change. You set intentions for expansion. Effectively, you requested a 4K streaming video file, but you are still trying to download it through a dial-up connection. You have exceeded your current bandwidth. The system has detected that the file you are trying to download, your new reality, is too large for your current neural architecture. So, what does a smart system do? It forces a pause. It throttles the external output to 0 so it can divert 100% of the available energy to widening the channel. The brain fog you are experiencing is not a malfunction, it is resource reallocation. Your system has shut down the action centers to power the integration centers. You are experiencing render latency. Think of it like streaming a movie on slow internet. The screen is black, the spinning wheel is turning. To the uneducated observer, the TV is broken. But to the engineer, the data is flowing at maximum speed. The screen is black not because there is no picture, but because the picture is so high resolution that it takes time to assemble the pixels. Your life isn't broken, it's buffering. I know the sensation you are feeling because it is unmistakable. It is the sensation of the system glitch. You noticed a specific relationship turn cold overnight. You used to have endless patience for certain people, and suddenly, you cannot stand to be in the same room as them. You used to have a burning passion for a specific hobby or career goal, and now, looking at it feels like looking at a blank wall. It feels like you have lost your taste. This is the system clearing the cache. In computing, the cache is temporary storage used to quick access data. When you undergo a major system upgrade, the first thing the installer does is wipe the cache. It deletes the temporary files that are clogging the processor. Those hobbies, those people, those old ambitions, they were temporary files for the old version of you. They are not loading because they are incompatible with the new operating system. You aren't losing your passion, You are freeing up RAM for the new program. Imagine you are a high-performance computer sitting on a desk. From the outside, the screen is black. The keyboard is unresponsive. The mouse cursor is gone. To the user, your ego, this looks like death. The ego is clicking buttons and getting no response, screaming, "Why isn't this working? I need to be productive." But if you could open up the case and look at the motherboard, you would see a different story. The fans are whirring at maximum RPM. The processor is running at 100% capacity. The heat sinks are glowing. The internal activity is higher than it has ever been. This is the paradox of the coordinate 0-point reset. Maximum internal processing requires minimum external movement. The anxiety you feel in your chest, that tightness that won't go away, that is the sound of the fans. That is the heat of the processor rewriting your reality structure. You are interpreting high-performance processing as low-performance stagnation. You are judging the reboot by the standards of the runtime. When a computer is running a complex simulation, it often freezes the display to dedicate all resources to the math. You are in the simulation freeze. You are accustomed to a life where effort equals visible results. You input work, you output success. But during an update, that equation breaks. You input rest, you output capacity. You input stillness, you output a new world. The promise of this phase is not just that you will get moving again. The promise is that when the screen turns back on, you will not be running the same software. You are moving from a glitching, lagging interface to a system capable of running at 10x speed on a completely new map. You are not falling behind. You are simply waiting for the texture of your new future to load. If you can feel the fans whirring in your chest right now, if you recognize this specific mechanical stillness, click like to confirm the download. Validating the diagnostic is the first step to completing the installation. We need to strip the emotion away from this for a moment and look at the architecture. We need to look at the engineering of your situation. You are not suffering from a spiritual crisis. You are suffering from a bandwidth limit. In 1948, a mathematician named Claude Shannon published a paper that changed the world. He is the father of information theory. Before Shannon, we thought that if we wanted to send a message clearer and faster, we just needed more power. Shout louder. Push harder. Shannon proved this was wrong. He discovered that every channel, whether it's a copper wire, a fiber optic cable, or your human nervous system, has a mathematical limit to how much information it can hold. This is called channel capacity. Here is the rule Shannon discovered. Once a system hits its channel capacity, adding more information doesn't create clarity. It creates noise, it creates errors, it creates chaos. Think of it like a water pipe. If the pipe is 2 inches wide, it has a maximum flow rate. If you try to force the Atlantic Ocean through that 2-inch pipe, the pipe doesn't flow faster. It bursts. This is your life right now. You have spent the last few years asking for more. You asked for the bigger life. You asked for the expansion, the wealth, the deeper love, the higher purpose. You sent a command to the universe for a massive download, and the universe answered. It started sending the data, but you are trying to receive a terabyte of reality through a megabyte nervous system. You are experiencing packet loss. When you feel that brain fog, that sudden inability to think clearly, it isn't because you are stupid. It is because your buffer is full. Your operating system is rejecting the input, because if it accepts one more byte of data, the kernel creates a panic error. The lethargy you feel, that is a safety breaker. Your body is physically throttling your energy to prevent you from blowing a fuse. You are not broken. You are simply over capacity. And according to information theory, there is only one way to fix a channel that has hit its limit. You cannot just push harder. You have to stop the transmission, take the system offline, and upgrade the coding scheme. You have to change the way the data is compressed. This brings us to the specific mechanism you are in right now. We call this the coordinate 0-point reset. To understand this, you have to understand how servers talk to each other. When a computer disconnects from one network to join a faster, more secure network, there is a gap. It drops the connection to server A, but it hasn't yet established the handshake with server B. In that gap, there is no internet, there is no feed, there is no external signal. To the user, the screen looks dead. But inside the machine, the processor is running at 100% usage. It is rewriting IP addresses. It is configuring new security protocols. It is translating languages. You are in the 0 point. You have disconnected from your old reality, the one where you had to hustle, grind, and force things to happen. That connection is severed. You can feel it. The old tricks don't work anymore. The old motivational videos don't light the fire. You are pressing buttons on a controller that is unplugged, but you haven't locked onto the new signal yet. You are in the void between versions. This state has 3 specific characteristics that you need to recognize, so you stop fighting them. First, 0 external output. You look at your to-do list, and nothing happens. You try to create, and the page stays blank. This is mandatory. All energy has been diverted from the output systems to the internal config systems. Second, maximum internal processing. You are exhausted even though you did nothing all day. You feel like you ran a marathon while sitting on the couch. That's because your internal CPU is overheating, trying to install the new architecture. Third, temporal distortion. Time feels wrong. Yesterday feels like a year ago. An hour feels like a minute. This is latency. Your internal clock is syncing with a new time server, and until it locks in, your perception of time will lag. The problem is not the update. The problem is how you are reacting to the update. You are misdiagnosing the symptoms, and because of that, you are applying the wrong fixes. You have been trying the brute force reboot. You feel the resistance, so you try to push through it. You drink more coffee. You set 5 alarms. You scream at yourself in the mirror to get it together. In computing, this is called overclocking. When you overclock a processor that is already at its thermal limit, you don't get more speed. You melt the silicon. You noticed this recently. You tried to force a project or a conversation that wasn't ready. What happened? It didn't just fail. It exploded. You felt a physical crash afterwards. That was a thermal shutdown. Then when the brute force fails, you switch to the virus scan. You start analyzing your psychology. You ask the search bar, why do I feel so lost and unmotivated? The algorithm serves you content about depression, about shadow work, about childhood trauma. You start digging into your past, looking for the virus that is causing the glitch. Stop it. There is no virus. You are running a system diagnostic on a healthy machine that is simply busy. You are deleting necessary files because you think they are corrupted, when really, they are just waiting to be indexed. You don't need therapy for this specific sensation. You need patience. You are trying to psychoanalyze a hardware upgrade. You have spent your life operating under the old paradigm of search and retrieve. You believed that your path was something already waiting for you out there in the world, like an object hidden in a room, and you just had to run around fast enough to find it. So when you stop moving, you feel like you are failing the game. That is not how the new coordinate system works. You are moving to a procedural generation model. Think of a modern video game. The world isn't all loaded at once. As the character walks forward, the engine renders the ground beneath their feet in real time. If the character moves too fast, faster than the engine can render, they fall through the map into the grey void. You are not stuck. You are waiting for the pixels to load. The reality you are stepping into is high fidelity. It is complex. It requires more data to render than your old life. The reason you can't see the next step is not because you are lost. It's because the bridge hasn't finished rendering yet. If you step now, you fall. The coordinate 0-point reset is the system saying, hold position. Loading high-resolution assets. This shift in understanding changes everything. It changes your anxiety into anticipation. You aren't a broken machine gathering dust. You are a supercomputer sitting in a dark, cool room, humming with the massive electrical load of becoming something new. You need to stop banging on the keyboard. You need to let the progress bar fill. Because the version of you that is coming online isn't just a patch. It's a completely new interface. You have been operating under a catastrophic misunderstanding of your own telemetry. You look at the stillness of your life, the lack of external achievements, the stalled projects, the silence on the phone, and you label it stagnation. You call it a block. You internalize it as a personal failure of will. But this is an optical illusion caused by looking at a 3-dimensional process through a 2-dimensional screen. We need to rewrite your definitions immediately. What you are experiencing is not stagnation. Stagnation is decay. It is a system left idle that begins to rust. That is not what is happening in your biocomputer. You're experiencing vertical processing. Let's look at the physics of a video game or a high-end simulation. When a character moves across a map from point A to point B, that is horizontal processing. The scenery changes, the coordinates shift, and the player feels a sense of progress. This is what you are addicted to. You want the feeling of the wind in your hair. You want the sensation of distance traveled. But what happens when the character needs to move from level 1 to level 2? What happens when the entire environment needs to change from a basic forest to a complex high-poly cyberpunk city? The movement stops. The screen goes black. The character freezes. The inputs on the controller become unresponsive. To the uneducated player, the game has broken. But to the developer, the system has entered a state of maximum exertion. It is no longer rendering movement across a plane. It is rendering a new dimension of density. You are not moving forward because you are moving up. You are currently in the loading screen between realities. The reason you cannot force yourself to do anything in the external world is that your available RAM is entirely consumed by this background installation. Horizontal movement requires available bandwidth. Vertical processing consumes all bandwidth. If you were to force your character to run while the new level is loading, you would glitch through the floor and fall into the void. Your paralysis is not a defect. It is a safety protocol. Consider the cascading implications of this truth. If this is a system update and not a personal failure, then every symptom you have been fighting is actually a protective mechanism. Let's talk about your motivation. You have been silently carrying a heavy shame because you cannot summon the drive to pursue goals you wrote down 6 months ago. You look at those goals and they feel like they belong to a stranger. You try to hype yourself up, but the engine just coughs and dies. Here is the cybernetic reason why. The you that set those goals is the operating system that is currently being overwritten. The goals themselves are legacy files. They are incompatible with the version 2.0 architecture that is currently installing. Your system has cut power to the motivation circuits because if you were to succeed at those old goals right now, you would anchor yourself to the old reality. You would solidify the very code you are trying to delete. Your lethargy is a firewall. It is blocking you from wasting energy on a deprecated timeline. The system is smarter than the ego. It has disabled your ability to drive the car because it is currently swapping out the engine. Then there is the confusion, the brain fog. You feel like you are walking through a cloud of static. You try to think about your future and you hit a blank wall. You feel like you are screaming in a soundproof room, asking for direction, and getting zero signal back. This is not because you are lost. This is because the data is encrypted. When a computer downloads a massive, secure file, it often arrives in an encrypted state. It looks like gibberish. It is unreadable until the download is 100% complete and the decryption key is applied. You are currently downloading the blueprint of your next life phase. The data is flooding into your subconscious. That's why you're so tired. That's why you have vivid dreams or sudden naps. But you do not have the decryption key yet. The key only installs when the download is finished. If you try to figure it out right now, you're trying to read raw binary code with your naked eyes. It creates a headache. It creates anxiety. You interpret this unreadable data as confusion, but it is simply high-density information that hasn't been rendered yet. The confusion is proof of the download's complexity. If the future were simple, you'd understand it already. The fact that you cannot grasp it means it is a significant upgrade in complexity from where you used to be. We must also address the driver incompatibility that is occurring in your social sphere. You may have noticed a specific relationship turn cold overnight, or perhaps you walked into a room of friends you've known for years and felt a sudden, jarring sense of alienation. It wasn't anger, it wasn't drama. It was simply the realization that the connection had no signal. In computing, when you upgrade an operating system, say from Windows 10 to Windows 11, some old drivers simply stop working. They are not bad drivers. They were perfect for the old system. But the new kernel has a different architecture, and the old drivers cannot interface with it. If you force them to run, they cause system instability. They cause crashes. The people falling out of your life right now are incompatible drivers. Your vibration, your core frequency, is oscillating at a rate that their system cannot handshake with. This feels painful because you interpret it emotionally. You think you are being rejected, or that you are becoming isolated. But functionally, it is the system clearing potential conflicts before the reboot. You cannot bring low-fidelity drivers into a high-fidelity render. It causes lag. It creates glitches. The isolation you feel is the system creating a sandbox environment so the update can install without corruption from external sources. This demands a complete methodological shift in how you operate your daily life. Until this moment, you have been obsessed with output. Output is the metric of the old world. Output is how many emails you sent, how many miles you ran, how much money you made, how many tangible widgets you produced. Society applauds output. The ego loves output because it is visible. It is measurable. But during a coordinate 0-point reset, output drops to 0. If you judge yourself by output right now, you will diagnose yourself as dead. You must shift your metric from output to throughput. Throughput is a measure of how much data a system can process internally over a given period. A computer that is rendering a 4K video file has 0 external output. The screen is static, the mouse isn't moving, but its internal throughput is nearly infinite. The fans are spinning at maximum RPM. The processor is running at 100% utilization. The heat generation is immense. You are in a high throughput phase. You are processing trauma. You are rewriting belief structures. You are integrating shadow aspects. You are metabolizing grief. You are recalibrating your nervous system to handle higher voltage. This is invisible work. It yields no trophies today. But it is the most energy-intensive work a human being can do. This brings us to the ultimate identity transformation. You must stop identifying as the user and start acting as the system administrator. The user is the one sitting in the chair, slamming the keyboard because the screen is frozen. The user is impatient. The user only cares about the application working right now. The user feels victimized by the loading bar. The user creates suffering because they are fighting the mechanics of the machine. The system administrator, however, sees the screen freeze and nods. The admin knows that the freeze means the patch is applying deep in the kernel. The admin does not bang on the keyboard, they step back. They monitor the temperature, they ensure the power supply is stable. They do not try to open new windows while the system is critical. They protect the process. You have been acting like a petulant user, angry that your reality is buffering. It is time to put on the admin badge. Your job is not to force the computer to run faster. Your job is to ensure it doesn't overheat while it does what it needs to do. You need to trust the architecture. The pause is not empty. The pause is heavy. It is pregnant with the data of who you are becoming. The reason you feel like you are running out of time is that your internal clock is syncing with a new time server, one that runs faster and cleaner than the one you are leaving. The great revelation is this. You are not broken. You are not lazy. You are not depressed. You are a supercomputer sitting on a desk, humming with the sheer electrical violence of a total firmware rewrite. The screen is black, not because the power is out, but because the graphics engine is being upgraded to render a reality you have never seen before. Stop touching the mouse. Stop clicking the refresh button. Let the install finish. Now that we have established the architecture of the update, we must look at the logs. You are not flying blind. Your system has been sending you error notifications for weeks, perhaps months. You have been dismissing them. You have been misinterpreting these notifications as biological failures, character flaws, or psychological breakdowns. They are none of these things. They are status reports from the installation wizard. When an operating system undergoes a kernel-level rewrite, it does not happen silently. The hardware heats up, the fans spin at maximum RPM, the interface becomes unresponsive. If you do not know you are updating, you assume the machine is dying. You panic. You start mashing buttons. You force a hard restart. This is dangerous. This corrupts the data. We are going to walk through the 3 specific error codes you are currently experiencing. These are the experiential markers of the coordinate 0-point reset. If you are truly in phase 1, you will not just understand these, you will feel exposed by them. You will realize I am reading your diagnostic panel from here. System notification. 1. The white noise effect, packet loss. You feel a pressure. It is not quite a headache, and it is not quite tension. It sits specifically behind the eyes and radiates down into the solar plexus. It feels like static. It feels like your nervous system is vibrating at a frequency that is slightly too high for your physical wire. You are sitting in a quiet room, yet you feel like you're standing next to a jet engine. There is a hum, a background radiation of anxiety that has no object. You look for a reason to be anxious. You scan your bank account, you check your relationships. Everything is technically fine, but the hum persists. You feel like you are screaming in a soundproof room, but you aren't making a sound. The vibration is internal. Medical professionals might call this generalized anxiety. The spiritual community might call this an ascension symptom. But let's look at the engineering. You are experiencing packet loss due to bandwidth saturation. Your biocircuitry, the nervous system, is a fiber optic cable. For years you have been transmitting data at a standard definition rate. Your reality was 480p. It was manageable, it was low density. But you asked for an upgrade. You set an intention for a higher life, a wealthier reality, a deeper purpose. The universe is answering that request by flooding your cable with 4K, uncompressed data. The signal is too strong for the current wire. When you push 10 gigabits of data through a 1 gigabit cable, the cable heats up. That heat is the anxiety you feel. It is friction. It is the physical resistance of your old nervous system trying to accommodate a massive influx of new energetic code. This is why you feel the fog. You have likely typed spiritual meaning of brain fog into a search bar at 3:00 a.m., looking for a mystical reason why you cannot focus. Here is the technical reason. Your RAM is full. Your conscious mind is the RAM. It is responsible for short-term processing. Right now, 99% of your RAM is allocated to the background download of your new reality. You only have 1% left to handle daily tasks like washing the dishes or answering emails. You are not becoming stupid. You are not developing early-onset cognitive decline. You are a high-performance machine running a massive simulation in the background. The user interface, your daily life, is lagging because the processor is busy building the future. Think of deep-sea divers. When a diver comes up from the deep ocean too quickly, they get the bends. Nitrogen bubbles form in the blood because the pressure changes too fast. You are currently in the pressure chamber. The white noise effect is the pressure equalization. If you fight this, if you try to medicate the noise away or force yourself to snap out of it, you risk system shock. You're trying to surface while the pressure is still equalizing. The protocol here is counterintuitive. You must let the static buzz. You must allow the pressure behind the eyes. Do not label it as pain. Label it as calibration. Your body is physically rewiring itself to conduct higher voltage. Let it heat up. System notification 2. Temporal latency, rendering lag. The second notification is on your internal clock. You are experiencing severe temporal latency. This manifests in two contradictory ways, often in the same day. First, the time skip. You sit down to do a simple task at 10:00 a.m. You blink. You move the mouse. You look up and it is 4:00 p.m. You have no idea where the hours went. You have no tangible output to show for it. The day evaporated. Second, the frame drag. You are waiting for an email or standing in line at the grocery store. It has been 3 minutes, but it feels like 3 hours. The world feels slow, heavy, and thick. You feel like you are moving through molasses. You watch people talking, and they seem to be moving in slow motion. You feel a frantic urgency to speed them up, to speed the world up, but everything is dragging. This is not a psychological perception issue. This is a rendering issue. In video game development, when the engine has to render a highly complex new map, a map with millions of polygons, dynamic lighting, and new physics, the frame rate drops. The game lags. The screen freezes while the assets load. You are currently transitioning from a low-complexity reality, your past, to a high-complexity reality, your future. The new map is high poly. It has more detail, more opportunity, more density. Your perception is the graphics card, GPU. It is struggling to render the new frames in real time. The time skip occurs because your consciousness goes offline to batch process the data. You aren't there for those 6 hours because you were in the back end installing the update. You were in sleep mode while the installation bar filled up. The frame drag occurs when you are forcing the system to render the old reality while it is trying to build the new one. You are standing in the grocery store, old map, but your energy is trying to be in the new career, new map. The friction between these two coordinates causes a latency spike. You feel like you are running out of time. You have this nagging, persistent panic that you are behind. You see peers moving ahead. You see the calendar pages turning. You feel the mortality clock ticking louder than ever. This is a false reading. Listen closely. This is critical. You feel like you are running out of time because you are actually exiting linear time. You are moving into vertical time. The update requires you to stop moving horizontally on the timeline so you can move vertically in frequency. A car moving at 100 miles per hour cannot change its tires. It must stop. The pit stop looks like zero progress to the spectator in the stands, but to the mechanic, it is the most critical moment of the race. The lag you feel is the pit stop. If you try to drive while the wheels are off, you destroy the axle. Stop watching the clock. The clock is measuring the old operating system. It is irrelevant to the update. System notification 3. The cache clear, emotional apathy. This is the most painful notification. This is the one that makes you question your sanity. You are experiencing a sudden, brutal, and confusing loss of interest in things you used to love. You spent 5 years building a business and suddenly you look at it and feel nothing. You worked hard for that promotion. You got it and now it tastes like ash. You have hobbies, passions, and goals that used to light you up. Now they feel like heavy, wet blankets. You look at your friends, people you have known for a decade, and you realize you have nothing to say to them. The conversation feels scripted, it feels hollow. You notice a specific relationship turn cold overnight, not because of an argument, but because the resonance is gone. You interpret this as depression, you interpret this as giving up. You terrify yourself with the thought, have I lost my drive? Am I broken? You are not broken. You are running a disk cleanup. When you install a major operating system update, the first thing the system does is identify obsolete files. It looks for temp files, data that was useful for the old session but is incompatible with the new one. Your old ambitions? Those were drivers for Windows 95. You are installing Windows 11. The ambition to prove your father wrong was a necessary driver to get you to this point. It served its purpose, but you cannot take that driver into the new reality. It is incompatible code. So, the system deletes it. The apathy you feel is the deletion process. It is the void left behind when an old motivation is uninstalled. You feel empty because the old fuel source, fear, validation, survival, has been removed, but the new fuel source, purpose, flow, abundance, hasn't been connected yet. You are in the gap between fuel tanks. This is terrifying because you have built your identity around those old files. You thought you were the person who wanted that specific job. You thought you were the person who loved that specific drama. When the desire goes, you feel like you are disappearing. You are not disappearing, you are being purified. You must look at your apathy with the cold, clinical eye of a systems administrator. Do not try to resuscitate the dead files. Do not go into the recycle bin and try to restore your interest in a toxic relationship just because it feels familiar. Let it go. If you try to force yourself to care about things you no longer care about, you are creating a loop error. You are wasting precious processing power trying to run a corrupted program. This is the test. The system is asking, are you brave enough to sit in the empty space? Are you brave enough to be nobody for a moment so you can become somebody else? The cache clear is not a punishment. It is creating space. You cannot download the new terabytes of wisdom, wealth, and connection if your hard drive is clogged with the cached memories of who you used to be. If you are feeling this specific symptom, if you have recently lost interest in a major goal or relationship and felt the guilt of that apathy, I need you to acknowledge it right now. Do not hide from it. Validate the deletion. Go to the comment section and type System Update. Do it now. Type System Update. This is your manual override. By typing it, you are telling your subconscious mind, I authorize this deletion. I am not depressed. I am making space. Stop judging the empty hard drive. The emptiness is the point. The data that is coming requires a clean slate. Allow the wipe. We move now from the theoretical architecture to the physical hardware. Theory does not change reality. Execution does. We are going to initiate a manual system override. You have spent years trying to fix the software while the hardware was overheating. That ends now. We are going to force a shutdown. Do not just listen to this. You must execute the protocol. Find a position where your hardware can go completely limp, sitting or lying down. It does not matter, as long as the chassis is supported. You need to be in a state where if you lost consciousness, you would not fall. Close your eyes. Cut the video feed. Phase 1. The hard power down. You are currently running 1,000 background processes. Your browser has 500 tabs open. You are calculating tomorrow's risks while rendering yesterday's regrets. Your CPU is at 99% usage. You feel that heat in your forehead. That is thermal throttling. You are dangerously close to a critical failure. We are not going to close the tabs one by one. That takes too long. We are going to pull the plug from the wall. I want you to visualize the power cable running into the base of your spine. It is pulsing with red, frantic energy. It is feeding you the anxiety of the collective network. On the count of 3, you are going to mentally yank that cord. You will kill the power. 1, prepare the command. 2, acknowledge the noise. 3, pull it. Blackout. Listen to the silence. It is deafening. You might feel a sudden drop in your stomach. That is the system spinning down. The hum of the fans in your chest is slowing. Slower, slower. Stopped. You are now running on emergency battery power. The screen is black. The lights on the modem have turned off. There is no signal coming in. There is no signal going out. You are offline. Notice how terrifying this silence feels. You are addicted to the noise. You have been running the productivity application for so long that you think the hum of anxiety is the sound of life. It is not. It is the sound of wear and tear. Let the heavy gravity of the shutdown take you. Your hands are heavy, your jaw is heavy. You are a machine sitting in a dark room, cooling, resting, waiting for the engineer. Phase 2, the defrag scan. Now that the system is quiet, we can run a diagnostic. We need to identify the corrupted sectors. These are the physical locations in your body where you are holding glitched data. Begin the scan at the top of the skull. Move the cursor down. Check the space behind your eyes. You have been squinting at a future that hasn't rendered yet. That tension is not focus. It is a graphics error. You are trying to force a resolution that your current card cannot support. Release the micromuscles around the eyes. Let the pixels blur. Move the scan to the jaw. This is your primary audio driver. How many things did you want to say but kept in the cache? How many times did you bite your tongue? That data is still there, taking up space, grinding the gears. Do not try to speak it now, just acknowledge the file is corrupted. Mark it for deletion. Drop the jaw. Unhinge the mechanism. Scan the shoulders, the cooling vents. You are carrying the weight of servers that do not belong to you. You are hosting other people's websites on your local drive. You feel that ache? That is the server rack bending. You are not the host. Cancel their hosting plan. Let the shoulders drop, let the structure collapse into the floor. Scan the solar plexus. The battery. You feel a tightness there. A knot. That is the fight or flight demon running on a loop. It is scanning for threats that do not exist. It is burning energy just to stay idle. Locate that knot. Do not try to untie it. Do not try to heal it. We are engineers, not doctors. Simply right-click on the tension. Select End Task. Watch the process terminate. The knot doesn't vanish. It simply stops spinning. The energy creates a void, a hollow space. Your body is now a blank slate. The RAM is cleared. The cache is empty. You are a clean drive, ready for the new installation. Phase 3, the firmware install. We are now ready to receive the patch. This is the Phase 1 update. I want you to visualize a data port opening at the very top of your head. The crown interface. Above you is the cloud, the source code, the 0-point field. It contains the new operating system, the version of you that knows how to navigate the new coordinates. Visualize the download initiating. It does not look like golden light or warm liquid. That is too organic. Visualize it as a stream of pure white high-fidelity data. It is binary code. Zeros and ones raining down from the infinite. It enters the skull. It is cold, precise, electric. This is not emotional. This is architectural. The code flows down the spine, overwriting the old BIOS. Feel it hitting the hard drive. The old file says, I must work to be worthy. The new code overwrites it. I exist to process. Feel it hitting the gut. The old file says, it is not safe to stop. The new code overwrites it. Stillness is the highest velocity. This download is heavy. It is dense. You might feel a physical pressure, a tingling, or a vibration. This is the white noise we spoke of. Do not fight it. You cannot negotiate with a firmware update. You just have to let the progress bar fill. Let the code rewrite your hands. Your hands are no longer tools for grasping and forcing. They are antennae for receiving. Let the code rewrite your legs. They are no longer for running away. They are for standing your ground on the new map. The installation is at 80%, 90%. You are becoming a different machine. The hardware is the same, but the logic governing it has shifted. The bugs that plagued you, the self-doubt, the hesitation, the fatigue, were just software errors in the old version. They are being patched out right now, 100%. Download complete. Phase 4, the reboot. The system is installed, but it is currently dormant. We need to initiate the reboot sequence to bring the new operating system online. You are going to trigger the surge. I want you to locate the power button in the center of your chest, right behind the sternum. It is a small cold fusion reactor waiting for ignition. On the count of 3, you will press that button. You will feel a surge of electricity shoot from your chest, out to your fingertips and down to your toes. You will not wake up as the person who closed their eyes. You will wake up as the admin. 1. Focus your attention on the center. Gather the energy. 2. The fans are starting to spin. The low hum returns, but it is smooth, it is efficient. 3. Press the button, ignition, feel the pulse. A shock wave of clarity. Your system is coming online. Take a deep breath. This is the first intake of air for the new system. It tastes different. It is cooler, richer. Do not open your eyes yet. First, run a quick system check. Check the anxiety levels. They are nominal. Check the clarity. It is high definition. Check the bandwidth. It is wide open. You are no longer buffering. You are live. Open your eyes. Look at the room around you. Do not look at the messy desk or the laundry. Look at the light. Look at the space. You are looking at a rendered environment. You are the user. You are the control point. You have successfully updated the firmware. The glitch is gone. You are ready to execute the new commands. Stand up, we have work to do. The reboot is complete. The screen has flickered back on. You are no longer the confused user frantically clicking the mouse on a frozen window. You have escalated your privileges. You are now the system administrator. Sit up straight. Feel the shift in authority. Up until this moment, you have been operating as a passive node, receiving errors and feeling victimized by the latency. That ends now. The admin does not complain about the lag. The admin locates the bottleneck and eliminates it. We are moving from the passive state of the update into the active state of operational control. You have the new firmware installed. Now you need to configure the settings before you attempt to run high-performance applications again. If you try to run your old life on this new code without configuration, you will crash the kernel immediately. We are going to implement 3 specific protocols. These are not self-help tips. These are command line executions for your reality. The first protocol is the Task Manager Audit. Think about your computer when it starts running hot. The fans are screaming. The cursor moves like it's swimming in molasses. You know exactly what is happening. You have too many processes running in the background. You aren't even using them. They are just there eating your random access memory, your RAM. Your energy is RAM. It is a finite resource. You have been walking around wondering why you are exhausted by 2:00 p.m., wondering why you have no creative drive. It is not because you are broken, it is because you have 50 tabs open in your brain and you haven't closed a single one since 2019. Every unfinished project is a tab. Every conversation you are avoiding is a tab. That resentment you are holding against a family member, that is a high-demand application running in the background, consuming 30% of your processing power every single second, even when you aren't thinking about it. You feel this. You wake up in the morning, and there is a subtle hum of anxiety. That is the sound of your internal cooling fans trying to keep the system from melting down. We need to open the task manager and force quit these applications. This is a diagnostic necessity. You cannot install the new version of your life if the memory is full. Here is the execution. You are going to take a piece of paper. This is your terminal. You are going to list every single open loop currently active in your system. I'm not talking about your big life goals. I am talking about the leaked memory. The email you've been meaning to reply to for 3 weeks. The dentist appointment you haven't booked. The apology you owe someone. The shelf you promised to fix. You might think these are trivial. In information theory, they are noise. And noise reduces channel capacity. Every time you look at that broken shelf, your brain runs a microprocess. I need to fix that. Then you walk away. That is a loop. It drains power. Write them all down. Once they are externalized on paper, they are no longer eating RAM. They are stored on the hard drive. Now look at the list. You have 3 commands for each item. Only 3. 1. Execute. Do it now. If it takes less than 5 minutes, close the loop. 2. Delegate. Assign the process to another processor. Hire someone, ask for help. Get it off your CPU. 3. Delete. This is the most powerful command. You look at that project you started 2 years ago, the one you think you should finish, but hate. You select it. You hit end task. You decide right now that you are never going to do it. You release the commitment. Feel the sudden silence in the room when the computer fans stop spinning. That is the sensation of reclaimed RAM. You need this free memory for what comes next. Protocol number 2 is bandwidth gating. Now that we have freed up your internal memory, we must protect the incoming data stream. You are currently in the fragile phase of a fresh install. The connection to the new reality, the new coordinates you are shifting to, is established, but the bandwidth is limited. Imagine you are downloading a massive file. Let's say it's the blueprint for your new career or a new relationship. It is 100 gigabytes of complex data. If you try to download that file while simultaneously streaming 4K video, browsing social media, and downloading junk files, what happens? The download speed drops to 0. The packet loss becomes critical. The file corrupts. You have been wondering why your manifestations, your reality shifts, arrive fragmented or not at all. It is because you are clogging your own pipe with low-fidelity input. You are asking for a Type A reality while consuming Type C data. You feel this happening. You have a moment of clarity, a high-frequency idea, and then you immediately pick up your phone and doom scroll for 45 minutes. You just flooded your cognitive bandwidth with malware, gossip, fear-mongering news, low-level social validation, the chaotic emotional states of strangers. This is data trash. When you consume it during a phase of recalibration, you are writing garbage code directly into your new operating system. Bandwidth gating is the discipline of the admin. It is a firewall. For the next 7 days, while this update settles, you must ruthlessly curate your input. If it does not match the frequency of the reality you are trying to render, it gets blocked at the port. This means silence. This means staring at a wall instead of a screen. This means telling your friend who loves to dump their trauma on you that you are currently unavailable. You are not being rude. You are managing network traffic. You are prioritizing the download of your future over the buffering of their past. If you feel a sense of withdrawal when you put the phone away, good. That is the system purging the cache. That is the dependency on high-stimulation noise leaving the body. You are retraining your neural pathways to accept high-density data, inspiration, intuition, silence, rather than high-volume noise. You are widening the pipe. Protocol number 3 is the fidelity render. This is where we switch from defense to offense. We have cleared the RAM. We have secured the bandwidth. Now we must use the graphics processing unit, the GPU, to render the new map. Most people try to shift their reality using low-resolution thumbnails. They say, "I want to be happy," or "I want to be wealthy." These are 144p images. They are blurry. The universe, which functions as a giant computational engine, cannot render a reality based on vague coordinates. It needs high-fidelity data. It needs texture. It needs lighting. It needs the physics engine to know exactly how this new world weighs. When you play a modern video game, the world doesn't load all at once. It renders what you look at. Where you point the camera, the pixels sharpen. The details emerge. This is exactly how your consciousness interacts with the quantum field. Attention is the rendering engine. The Fidelity Render tool works like this. You are going to spend 10 minutes a day rendering one specific scene of your target reality, but you are not just visualizing, you are engineering. Do not just see yourself in the new house. That is weak data. I want you to feel the temperature of the doorknob. Is it cold brass? Is it warm steel? I want you to smell the air. Is it crisp? Does it smell like rain or cedar? I want you to see the dust motes floating in the light shaft. You must focus on the micro details. Why? Because holding a stable, high-resolution image in your mind requires massive cognitive throughput. It forces your brain to generate a specific electromagnetic signature. You are literally encoding the coordinates into your field. When you do this correctly, you might feel physical sensations, a sudden wave of dizziness, a feeling of zoning out, or a sensation that the room around you has become less real. These are standard reality-shifting symptoms. Do not be alarmed. This is evidence that your GPU is drawing power from your current environment to build the new one. You are reallocating resources from the illusion of now to the structure of next. If you cannot hold the image, if it flickers, if it keeps buffering back to your current problems, that is just weak signal strength. It means you haven't done the task manager audit. You are still leaking RAM. Go back to step 1. Close the loops. You are the admin. The system does not run you. You configure the system. You have cleared the noise. You have gated the bandwidth. You are now rendering the map. The fog is about to lift, and for the first time, you are going to see exactly what you have been building in the dark. You have survived the reboot. Take a moment to scan your internal environment. Notice the silence. That frantic mechanical whirring of the cooling fans in your chest has stopped. The black screen of the void has flickered once, twice, and now the desktop is loading. But this is not the desktop you are used to. The icons are different. The resolution is higher. The color depth has expanded from 8-bit limitation to high dynamic range visibility. You are no longer running on the legacy operating system that defined your past. The Phase 1 update is complete. You might feel a strange sensation right now. It is a specific type of lightness that feels almost suspicious to a mind addicted to gravity. You keep waiting for the anxiety to boot up, for the familiar pressure to return, but it does not come. This is not apathy. This is efficiency. The friction you lived with for years was not the texture of reality. It was simply the heat generated by an obsolete processor trying to run complex software. That friction is gone because the hardware has caught up to the program. You are now operating with surplus bandwidth. The brain fog that plagued you was merely render latency. Now that the data is fully installed, the fog lifts, revealing a terrain that is sharper, brighter, and more demanding than anything you have navigated before. But here is the critical warning. You have the new map, but you do not yet know the controls. You are sitting in the cockpit of a quantum interface, yet your muscle memory is still reaching for the levers and dials of a steam engine. The physics of this new reality are fundamentally different. In the old version, effort equaled output. You had to push, grind, and force the gears to turn. In version 2.0, the physics are reversed. Effort creates resistance. Force creates lag. This new operating system runs on flow states and intention alignment. If you try to apply your old brute force methods to this high-fidelity reality, you will not just fail, you will glitch the system. You will feel the disorientation of moving fast in a vehicle designed to glide while you are trying to pedal it. You are likely noticing that certain files, relationships, habits, old ambition loops, are now displaying as corrupted or unsupported file type. You try to click on them, expecting the familiar dopamine hit or the familiar stress response, but nothing happens. The link is dead. Do not try to repair these links. They were written in a code language that your system no longer speaks. You have upgraded your kernel. The drivers for those old dramas have been uninstalled. This is disorienting because you built your identity around those glitches. You defined yourself by the struggle of the loading screen. Now that the screen is clear, you face the terrifying question of the blank canvas. What do you run on a supercomputer that has zero limitations? This is where the real work begins. The update was just the preparation. The reboot was just the threshold. Now you must learn to be the admin. You have spent your life as a passive user, reacting to pop-ups, accepting cookies, and clicking whatever flashing light appeared in front of you. That era is over. You are now the architect of the simulation. But a powerful system without a skilled operator is dangerous. It is energy without direction. It is a Ferrari with a brick on the accelerator and no one at the steering wheel. You have the power, but you need the manual. You need to know how to input commands that the universe acknowledges as valid code. We are moving from the passive reception of the update to the active command of the interface. You have cleared the cache. Now you must fill the memory banks with high-value data. The next phase of this protocol is not about waiting. It is not about trusting the process. The process is done. The next phase is about execution. It is about learning the syntax of creation. How do you write a script that manifests a physical outcome? How do you spot the Easter eggs, the hidden shortcuts and wormholes that are scattered throughout this new high-fidelity map? The glitch you experienced was not an error. It was a guide. It was pointing you toward the exploits in the code that allow for non-linear leaps in progress. You are standing at the edge of the unrendered frontier. The pixels are waiting for your attention to lock them into place. If you walk away now, you are leaving the console unlocked. You are leaving this high-performance machine idling, slowly gathering digital dust, until it reverts to its previous state of entropy. You did not endure the darkness of the reboot just to play solitaire on a quantum computer. You came here to run a simulation that changes the fabric of your existence. This brings us to the necessity of the next download. Phase 1 was the installation. Phase 2 is the user manual. We need to talk about the command line. We need to discuss how to input your desires so they do not get flagged as spam by the universal server. If you are ready to stop being a user and start being a developer of your own reality, you need the next set of instructions. Subscribe to this channel now. This is not a request for a metric. This is a strategic directive to ensure you receive the patch notes for Phase 2. By subscribing, you are keeping the connection open. You are signaling to the algorithm and to your own reticular activating system that you are prioritizing the acquisition of this new logic. You are ensuring that when the video titled "The Glitch Was the Guide, How to Read the Code of Reality" drops, you are the first to access the terminal. Do not let the signal fade. Lock in the connection. As you step away from this transmission, carry this final truth with you. Do not fear the pause you just survived. The pause is the power. In computing, the silence before the execution is where the calculation happens. In music, the rest is what gives the note its impact. The bigger the freeze, the more massive the leap. You felt stuck because you were being pulled back in a slingshot. The tension was not stagnation, it was potential energy accumulating. That energy is now kinetic. You are released. You are live. You are running on the new architecture. Do not look back at the old version. It has already been overwritten. Welcome to version 2.0. Initiate.